Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe. Welcome all you cool ghouls and friendly fiends to the House of the Unusual podcast. I'm your host, Joe Pavlansky. With me as always is the maestro of mail order mysteries, Eddie Guevara. Tonight's special guest is the one, the only, the returning champ, Michael Mezmer. Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
And I got one for us here since it is our 100th birthday. Well, 100th episode, really. So this is a huge milestone for us because I don't know if we ever thought we would go this far. So it's kind of like a birthday for us. But yeah, this is our 100th episode. If you look on the Apple podcast, it'll say when this one comes out, it'll say 101, but it's actually our 100th. There's a I think it's a 2020 or 2021 recap in there that was reproduced. So this is our 100th original episode. So I want to send a shout out to definitely to Eddie for making this possible and doing all the technical stuff and putting in all the effort to make this become a reality for us and an ongoing thing, week after week. And a huge thank you to all of our past guests and all the people out there that, subscribe to us, that like our podcast, that continuously listen to us, and even all of our new listeners. We hope to keep you on here for, at least 100 more episodes or more. But man, I mean, it's just unbelievable that we're already at 100. Time flew by so fast. Eddie, where did all this time go?
I don't know, Joe. I'm shocked, honestly. It did fly by.
I mean, this was crazy. It only seemed like yesterday we were, setting up for our first podcast, but enough of all that. This is our 100th. We're going to get right into it. We got Michael Mezmer on the line with us, and it's been a little while since you've joined us here, Michael. So what's new with you? I heard you got a bunch of shows coming up.
Yeah, right now I'm in the midst of doing grad night shows, which is really cool. I do my transgnosis comedy hypnosis show for those. And the great thing is what it does, it keeps the kids off the streets on grad night so they don't get killed. Most teens get killed on grad night because they go do, wild things. So what happens is we do these lock-ins and the parents are able to keep the kids at the party and then they are safe through that night. And it's saved hundreds and thousands of lives through the years. So it's a great thing to be part of. But also an exciting thing right now for me is I did win runner-up for best article for my article in my two-part article in Scary Monsters magazine. So that was a cool achievement.
Awesome, man. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's great. So all the shows and all that, I take it have been picking up for this summer.
Oh yeah. I'm doing, I'm a magician and a hypnotist. So I'm scheduling a lot of shows, solid, bookings for fairs all over the United States and just having a great time. And I work in an amusement park in California part-time where I fill in for a friend of mine who is busy also. So we kind of share that. And so, yeah, I'm always busy, always having a great time. And last weekend I was at Monster Palooza here in LA, which was insanely fun.
Very cool. What was the at Monster Palooza? Who was the one guest that really stood out to you that you might have met out there?
Well, I always love to meet the Cheney family. They're always great to visit with. I had a good visit with them. The great granddaughter of Lon Jr. So it was great visiting with them. But also, I got to say, the highlight for me personally was, there's a lot of professional makeup groups that are there, and they have, people on a stage where they do makeup, special effects makeup demonstrations. And I was walking down one of the aisles. I looked over, and there was Barnabas Collins, Jonathan Frid.
Oh,
now,
wow.
mind you, Jonathan Frid passed away several years back in 2012. But it was an eerie feeling because I looked over and there he was in his 1840s outfit, and it looked exactly like Jonathan Frid. Because, I had spent a day on the Dark Shadows set. We had talked about that, I think, on a previous show. And so I spent a day with Jonathan and when I was just 11. I think it was 11 in that area back in 1970 anyway. So when I saw this person for just a few seconds, it made me feel like he was there again. It like freaked me out. It was like really eerie, you know?
That's really cool. You know what? The October Monster Bash for this year, they're going to have Ron Chaney there, which is Lon Chaney's grandson. So that's going to be really cool to talk with him and ask him. Hopefully, get to ask him a few questions. I don't know if this is his first time there or if he's been there before, but this will be the first time for myself meeting him. So I'm really excited about that.
Ron's a really nice guy. He was at this one too, but he wasn't at the booth when I was there because he was doing other, talks and whatever. But it was his daughter I was speaking to there. But he's a great guy and he loves to talk about the family. And he even did a little movie a couple years back. I don't know how many now, but where he did a reprise of his of Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman in the movie. And it was kind of one of those, fan films, but it was really cool that he was in that and did that role, and he'll probably tell you about that too if you ask him.
Awesome. Well, hey, Michael, thank you for being here once again with us on our 100th, and I'm going to turn it over. Yeah, absolutely, and I'm going to turn it over to Eddie because I know he's got a ton of stuff going on at House of the Unusual. He's always posting new videos.
Awesome.
He's always working there. So, what's new, Eddie?
Well, I'm actually working on the YouTube channel. Updating a few things on it, creating some playlists. I'm trying to remake the whole channel because instead of having like different channels, I'm going to try a new strategy, have different playlists for the different channels. Say if I had a Mike Mezmer channel, it'll be Mike Mezmer, but the playlist, this will keep the House of the Unusual channel as the one channel with all the different playlists that people can just click on. It makes it, I think, a little easier. So I'm actually working for the Crypto Classic channel is your number one there. And I'm actually thinking, Mike, plugging in a playlist for your channel too. So yeah, I've been kind of overwhelmed with it, but
wow,
that's what I'm doing as I organize all the storage. So that's about it going over here.
That's awesome. Pretty cool.
Yeah, there's definitely a ton of videos on there, and you've been doing. It looks like a lot of shorts on there. What exactly are these shorts, Eddie? I'm really kind of new to them, so I don't know too much about them.
Joe, the shorts are meant to bring, more subscribers and stuff, and I've heard a lot about them. When I looked at them, the shorts are good in bringing up subscriptions, but the problem with them, in reality, they don't have much worth, and I'll tell you why. Because when somebody's looking through TikTok or looking through Instagram, they scroll up and down with their finger. They see a video they like, they subscribe to the video, and then they scroll to the next. So it's not really, the subscriptions you gain from it are not really worth it in the long run. Since our thing is we're looking to get subscribers that can actually enjoy our shows. Not quick. So yeah. I did shorts, but I don't think I'm going to be doing much of them anymore.
I tell you what, and if the listeners out there really want to enjoy some videos on there, Chuck Caputo's got a ton of great short magic clips. I mean, they're 4 or 5 minutes a piece, so you could watch one in just a few minutes. And a huge shout out to Chuck because he's usually always with us and every week, but him and his wife are on vacation this week, enjoying the beach. And I was able to get a few videos and photos from their vacation, and it looks like they're having a blast. So Chuck and Sherry, we wish you all the best out there on vacation if you're listening to this when it comes out. And a huge thank you to you both for being a part of House of the Unusual podcast for a much better part of our 100 episode run here. So that's
I love to watch his videos. Actually, I've watched them all. I think they're really cool.
Yeah, I tell you what, he sent me one. I think he posted it on. If you just type in the search Sherry Caputo of a haunted house that they went to in Ocean City where they're at, and it's a little ride. It's only about, I think, 5 minutes or so. And I tell you, I even told Chuck, I said, this is a lot longer ride than I thought it would be, because usually when you see those kind of rides, they're only maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes. But this one kept going, and the inside was really cool. A lot of like neon light stuff, and then you had the strobe lights. You had some more contemporary horror stuff, some classic stuff. It looked really cool. So go on YouTube, type in Sherry Caputo, and I believe that that video is on her site. So yeah, it was really cool.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's all I got
So
on that.
was it a dark ride? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was. Let me see if I could pull it up here on YouTube on hers and see. There was a name to it. It looked like those, where they pull in like the semi trucks.
Oh yeah.
Kind of ride.
Okay.
Called the Haunted Dark Ride, I believe that's what it was called.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's on his site. It's only 5 minutes 7 seconds. It's well worth watching. He does a great job videoing it and going through the whole thing. And there's even one part where it kind of about halfway it goes outside and you could see a view of the ocean, and it is
nice.
making me jealous out there, Chuck and Sherry. I wish I was at the ocean.
Now where was that at?
Ocean City, Maryland.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just at Santa Cruz Boardwalk doing a grad night, and they have the best dark ride there too. It's really cool. There's ghosts in it. There's really giant rats, but at the end they have a giant guillotine that comes down on you in the ride. It's really awesome.
Oh wow, yeah, it's been a long time since I've been on a dark ride. We had a festival, or not a festival, a fair near here that used to have dark rides. I haven't been to it in years.
Oh.
I don't know if they still have it or not, but man, they had a few cool ones. But like I said, they were usually only like, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and you were through it. And I know we've talked a lot about dark rides in the past. So anybody out there that wants to hear our in-depth take on them, just search in our archives and you'll be able to find our show about the dark rides. But, today is our 100th episode.
Yay.
I wanted to talk about, maybe about the first half of our podcast here, maybe some memories from when we were younger from birthday parties and all that. Cause that, birthday parties were, when I was young, I always thought they were going to be a huge part of our life, forever, but they were really big when we were, young kids. You had the birthday cake, you had, pin the tail on the donkey, piñatas, you had the party favors. And of course the best part of birthdays was the presents. I mean, when you're a little kid, you don't care about any of that other stuff. Besides, what you're going to rip open that paper and what's underneath it. But, I was thinking back, right when we were getting ready for the show and we were talking about, 100 episodes and it's such a great anniversary. I said, for some reason I started thinking about old birthday parties when I was younger, 6, 7 years old, and how at school, everybody that, I went to a real small Catholic school, and we had we only had maybe about 15 people in the classroom. Towards the end of it, around 4th, 5th grade, they were actually combining classes because they were so small. So we ended up with, 4th and 5th grade in one classroom with about 8 to 10 kids each. And you would always, at least, from what I can remember, is anytime someone had a birthday, you would always get your invitations together, whether you had a superhero invitation or one of the monster ones with Frankenstein and Dracula on it, and you would go to school and, hand them out to everybody in the classroom, because, the more people you handed them out to, the more people that would come, and, that means more presents. I think that's how we all thought about it at that age. So, I always remember going and passing out the invitations. And then you would have these, great parties with pizza, hamburgers, hot dogs, and pop. And you would have the cone hats, the noise makers, and you would play, silly, stupid games, for that time in the, the 80s and all that. Pin the tail on the donkey, bobbing for apples. You might have a piñata with a little bit of candy in it and stuff like that. But, I wanted to get your guys' take on it because I think we're all from kind of different age brackets here in different parts of the United States, and especially Eddie coming from Cuba into the United States. So I wanted to get your guys' take on, how were your guys' birthdays when you guys were younger? Did you guys do any of that? Because I know that, we always, even kids, it's like every week somebody had a birthday, it seemed, and was passing out invitations to go there, and you'd have to find out what was their favorite toy and, hope that somebody else didn't buy it. But, Mike, we'll start off with you. What was your kind of past experience with that?
Well, mine is a complete opposite of yours. I was always the odd man out in my school, so I was always an outcast. I did magic. I was in theater, and I dressed in black. And a lot of people didn't believe me too. They always thought I was lying because, I went to Dark Shadows for the day. I was brought up in a showbiz family. So I go to school and say, oh, I spent the last week I was on Dark Shadows set. They go, you're a liar. The kids would call me a liar and things. They wouldn't believe that what I had done, I really did. So I was kind of an outcast, but at the same time, I had a lot of friends when I would go to do theater shows and things like that. Because, I started out doing theater when I was 7 with Connie Stevens and people like that. So, but for me, my parents were older parents. And so they didn't really want to have the big parties and lots of kids in the home. But what they did do was they would always take me to a very wonderful restaurant called Northwoods Inn. And I always looked forward to that because there was snow on the roof, which is faux snow. It wasn't real snow, but it looked like an old cabin up in the wilds. And we'd have a beautiful steak dinner and everything. And then my brothers would come, and I would generally get some really cool presents. I think the coolest present I can ever remember getting for my birthday was the Barnabas Collins Dark Shadows game. When I received that was so awesome because it had skeletons you hung on coffins, and it had vampire teeth, and it was so cool. And I received that before I met Jonathan Frid, before I had that opportunity. But it was so neat because every day I ran home to see Dark Shadows. So as a birthday memory for me, that was one of the best. And then sometimes my parents would take me on the weekend somewhere like to Disneyland, which was always awesome for a birthday treat, or Knott's Berry Farm. We'd go and have chicken dinner and then go on all the rides and all of that. So my birthdays were a little bit different, but I always dreamed of having a birthday like what you were talking about and wished I had, but it just wasn't in the cards for me because of my parents' age and because of, what I did in my life and who I was. But I had a lot of wonderful times. They were just very different.
That's awesome because I do remember some of those going to places like Chuck E. Cheese or whatever little arcade place that you could celebrate birthdays at that time. And, where I was at, everybody was very close. We went to a small Catholic school. So everybody there, went to church on Sundays and had Sunday school. So it was a very close knit community. So it was kind of almost like, required that you have a birthday party and invite everybody. But, some of the kids that had a little bit more money, they would do like they would invite you to the Chuck E. Cheese or the Fun and Games, whatever was around at that time. I think Chuck E. Cheese is still around, but, we did a lot of that. And I have to ask you, because I know everyone else out there is thinking the same thing. Do you still have that Barnabas Collins game?
Yes, I do.
Do you really?
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yep, I love it. It looks like brand new still. I mean, I took good care of it through the years. I have Wolfman posters from the 1960s that look brand new still, and things like that. So I was always taught to keep my things nice. And I have other things. Like one thing went out for birthday, but Christmas one time was a James Bond attaché case, and I have that with all the gun and all the pieces in it. And yeah, and I have a big corgi collection too. Batman and James Bond cars and Munster vehicles and all that. So
awesome. I remember getting a lot of G.I. Joes and the little muscle figures. They were the pink and multicolored wrestlers.
Yes.
And I still have all those. And I used to get some He-Man too, Masters of the Universe, but I ended up selling those sometime in the early 90s at a garage sale, which I always kick myself. But I was always a big toy guy. And at that time, especially in the 80s, that was the big thing going around, was all these toys. They were marketed through cartoons and everything. And, we were kind of like brainwashed with them every morning, these cartoons, I'm going to buy our toys. And then we say, hey, Mom, Dad, we want this toy. So,
but you can't top a creepy crawler set.
Oh man, I wish I still had mine. Yeah,
those were awesome. And then they had the stand-up little guys with the heads that were an offshoot of it. I can't remember what they were called. Do you remember, Eddie, what those were called? They're creepy crawlers, but they were called creepy people or something like that.
I know what you're talking about. I actually don't remember the name, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they were so cool because you'd put their heads on a pencil and the feet on the bottom on the pencil, and make little clothes for them, and it was cool.
Yeah. That sounds cool. So Eddie probably got like 6 or 7 of them in the store.
Yeah.
But Eddie, what was your childhood like with birthdays? Were they different in Cuba compared to how they were when you got to the United States?
Well, in Cuba, I came at the age of 4, so I don't really remember much there, to be honest. I do think there was a party for me. I don't remember.
Yeah.
When I came here in the 1970s, I actually arrived Halloween night. We got here on the 30th, actually.
Wow.
Before we got to Florida and I got to New Jersey Halloween night. The kids were knocking on the door, and I remember when my aunt opened up, I was wondering what it was all about. The thing I think, the party I remember the most is I was invited to a Halloween party. I don't know what year, probably 1973. And it was the guy who hosted the Halloween party, the kid, the friend of mine. He who lived didn't he lived in my block. He didn't actually, how can I say, he didn't go to school with me that I remember.
Uh-huh.
What happened with him is that he invited me, and then I went over to his house. I think he, like I said, he lived in my, well, anyway, he invited the whole block, and his father was a super. So in New York City, if you guys know any old building in New York City, have what they call the fallout shelters in the basement.
Yeah.
So old super's apartment had the fallout shelter. When you went inside, it didn't look like cinder blocks. It was more like I don't know, like cement with whatever. It looked more like the bluestone. And we had this, so it was kind of scary. He set up some walkways inside there where you would go in, and it was really kind of scary and stuff. So I got to be honest with you, it was probably the first and the last and the best Halloween party I ever went to, because after that, I went when I was a grown up, but as a kid, there wasn't really that many parties I attended. And then again, since I'm only in my 20s, it's hard to remember otherwise.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember too many Halloween parties when I was young. I know, my parents went to a few because we would have the babysitter and all that. I think we might have had I kind of remember them for school. We would have them where you would dress up and
right.
You would bring in maybe a bag of candy and you would pass it out to every kid. They would have their little whatever container, it was made out of, a shoe box or a bag or something on their desk. And that's kind of all I remember. We never had too many Halloween parties. What about you, Michael? Did you guys, now since you were, around a lot of like the movie stuff and all that, did they have a lot of Halloween parties or anything that you attended?
Well, I actually, the best Halloween stuff for me, school was cool because like you were saying, we would have our costumes on, and they'd usually have a costume parade at school, as I remember when I was little. And parade, and we'd all walk around in our costumes and everything. But actually, what the coolest thing I did when I was young, there was a couple things. The Parks and Rec would put on a haunted house for young kids. And they had everything from Morticia Adams sitting there in the classic chair, the chair made out of I don't know what it was made out of, but the East Indian kind of chair she sat in the show, and all things like that. And then also up at the shopping mall, we would paint windows on the mall windows for a competition. So my brother would do it and I would do it. And I won a trophy when I was little that was a little teeny plastic trophy, but it had a little teeny plastic skeleton in it. I still have it to this day. And, I painted a little window, and you paint like whatever you wanted, pumpkins. My brother did Sleepy Hollow on one of them one time. He was a very talented artist. He went on to be on Broadway and stuff. But anyway, the malls, everybody was so supportive of Halloween here in those days. There was always tons of things going on. But I think the coolest thing ever was we had a place called Wallach's Music City. It was right here in the shopping mall by my house in West Covina. And they had the Munsters come out. And in addition to the Munsters coming out, they had a Universal Studios kind of a haunted house. And it was made out of a trailer. And inside were the Mummy, Frankenstein, and Dracula.
Oh, that's cool. You still there, Mike?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I thought we lost you there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very cool. I always remember meeting the Munsters. Now, they weren't really the Munsters. They were from Universal. They were officially there with the real Munster mobile. But they were, the Herman was the masked guy, I think, or something. But in those days, we just thought they were the Munsters because you didn't think about stuff in those days.
Right, yeah. Now, do you still have that trophy up on your mantle at home?
I do. And you know what? I still have the autographed The autograph 8x10 from all the monsters, Wolfman, Frankenstein, the Mummy, and Dracula, were in that display. They actually had hand signed one photo that has 4 little shots of them on it, and they're all signed by them in like a blue permanent marker.
Oh, that's really cool. I don't know, maybe it's just in my area, and I'll get your guys' perspective on this, but it doesn't seem like Halloween parties, even birthday parties for that matter, or Christmas parties, are really parties in general. It doesn't seem like they're really a big thing anymore. And I don't know if that's because of, social media, or just different areas have moved on to different things. But in my area, it doesn't seem like Halloween parties, birthday and Christmas parties are as big now as they were, say, in the 80s and 90s. Is that is that the same way in your area, Eddie?
To be honest with you, there is a lot of Halloween parties, but I noticed most of them are like in nightclubs, and the adults are going, not the young kids. Young kids there's more trick or treating for some reason. It's kind of been a little lame as compared to what it used to be in years past. But I do notice, though, there is more stuff that sell out for Halloween for some reason. Houses are more decorated than ever. I do notice that. But the whole idea of kids, let's be honest, we're not kids anymore, so we don't know really what's going on with the kids, if they're having a lot of Halloween parties and stuff. But in my job in general, there was about 3 or 4 in the building, but there's 400 apartments,
Right.
So I guess the only thing, and it's funny that when you say Halloween parties and stuff, and I see how you asked Mike if he had all those things as a kid, and one thing you brought to mind was the James Bond case.
Yeah.
You're aware that does a little bit, almost $3,000 in today's value. Very expensive.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
That's a big piece you got there, my man.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is.
I tell you what, a friend of my wife's that she works with, her husband was looking for that on eBay, and I actually found one a couple months ago. When I gave him the price, I think he almost had a stroke, because he said he had one when he was younger and sold it at a garage sale. And when I told him, the price, because I think the one I seen online was like $2,800, something like that.
Oh.
He almost fell over.
Wow.
I actually have one. Mine is missing one part of the gun, I think it is, or there's something missing in it, but I do have it. And there was another one called right after that, Mr. Something. It was a spy case as well. I think they copied it from. I got that one also, but that I bought, let me tell you, back in the 80s.
There's one toy that I wish I had from that era that was not official, but it was one. I love all the Man from U.N.C.L.E. ones too. I have a Man from U.N.C.L.E. gun. I wish I had the gun from the bad guys. They had a rifle with the scope and everything. But there was one thing that was at Montgomery Ward's. In fact, I'm sitting right now on the property that once was Montgomery Ward's. Now it's an IKEA, doing this interview to talk today. But they had a overcoat. There was a secret agent overcoat that was loaded with all sorts of gimmicks and guns and things. And it was actually made out of like a plastic, almost heavy plastic, but it was an overcoat that was tan colored. I don't know what it was, but it was the coolest thing because it had every spy gimmick in this overcoat. And it came in a box, just a simple box with a label on it. But I never was able to get that because it was very expensive for me at that time. As a kid, I had to ask my dad, and it was too expensive. But boy, that was an awesome thing. I wish I would have been able to get one of those at that time.
I tell you what, I think I might have been 10 or 11, so this would have been in the early 90s, right after the Gulf War, started. You had Desert Shield and then Desert Storm. Is that one of because I was really big into, military stuff. GI Joe, always out running around playing military. So any kind of guns that came out on the market, I always wanted to get, because I had to add to my arsenal for the backyard battles that I had. I remember on the one birthday, I think it was maybe in 90 or 91, I got a set of, they were called the chocolate chip desert camouflage uniform.
Ooh.
What it was is that special uniform that it was different kind of browns in it, and then it had little black spots, so it almost looked like a chocolate chip cookie. That's why they call it the chocolate chip desert uniform.
Wow.
So I got that and a whole bunch of these, toy guns, which, now I kick myself because I wish I would have kept them because they're, probably some decent ones there. Cause everyone that would come, my parents, relatives and all that would always get me a new, toy gun or some fake grenades or something, to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I would have kept a lot of that stuff from that time.
Yeah. We all do. We all do.
But sadly they're gone, and so is that uniform, which I can remember getting it for that birthday and putting it on and wearing it during the whole birthday. And then when everyone left,
Yes.
running out to the woods, next to my house and
It's awesome.
and playing in there, after trying to work off all the cake and food that I ate.
It was a good thing in those days, us kids playing army and stuff. I mean, now it's sort of looked down upon, but that kept us busy. We were out till the sun went down. We were playing, and we were having fun with people, and we were doing exercise, and we had our Stingray bikes, and we just had a great time. And it's too bad that kids today are so stagnant and sitting at home and playing online and all of this, because they're missing out on a really wonderful part of childhood.
Yeah, you really, at that age, you really start to, your brain's still developing, and so you're using your imagination, and you're actually growing, your brain and everything, and
Yes.
you're kind of like training it. I don't think, people today, especially the kids that are still developing, they're just watching a screen and they're taking in that information and they're not really using their imagination. That's why I always kind of think like it seems like creativity has taken a plunge in the last several years.
Well, you can see that in the films, because the films now are done by the younger generations that are growing up, and all they can do is repeat past concepts. They can't come up with anything new anymore.
Right.
And we were able to do that, and so were the people in our era. I mean, look how we went to the moon and all these things. We could do things that were amazing because we were brought up to have imagination, to have a sketch pad, to have whatever. And the kids today, everybody's looking at these things that are already done for them, and they're not exercising that part of their mind anymore. There's still kids out there that are genius and are going to do things, but I'm just saying that in general, you're right. It's too bad, because this is where things like Frankenstein came from and everything else, from imagination. And when we don't develop the imagination, we don't get anything new. So I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah. What do you think, Eddie? How is it out in your area? Are you seeing the same thing, or, are there kids outside, running around and playing in the summer, or is it more kind of quiet? Because I see it in my area. It's so quiet even during the summer.
To be honest with you, there are a lot of kids playing, not like before. All of a sudden, to be honest with you, for the last 3 or 4 weeks, there has been a big influx of traffic jams everywhere you go. So I guess people are coming out. They probably haven't been in a while. But overall, that's what I'm seeing now. There is something that's kind of interesting with everything so expensive. You would figure people wouldn't be driving as much, but
Right.
I hear Target has such an overstock, I read today, of merchandise that they need to lower their merchandise. So they're going to be selling like really low price stuff and having sales because they're overstocked right now. And I think they're trying to move things out, which it's very interesting. It's interesting. You would figure the way the economy is, you wouldn't think that would be a thing,
Yeah. Somebody was telling me about that today. Target and Walmart, they're offering a ton of stuff at like 60% off. So hopefully a lot of these families are taking their kids there and getting some outside toys and all that for them to play with.
Yes.
I tell you what's cool. I found a couple weeks ago, we were going to, it was for Memorial Day picnic over my sister's house, and she has 2 little kids, 4 and 6, 2 little girls. So on our way there, I stopped at local Rite Aid. I wanted to get them something small, that they could play with outside. So I found this. It was really cool, man. It was made of plastic and styrofoam, and what it was is it was kind of like a little base, and you set on a tube these 2 foam rockets. And then from each rocket, there's a tube in this this kind of real soft like plastic pad. And what you do is you step on it or jump on it, and it shoots the air into the rocket, and they go in the sky. So you could kind of duel with someone to see who could get the height. And I said, oh man, this is cool. They're going to love it. And then, I'm taking it we're driving to the house. It's about a 15-minute drive. I said, man, I hope I just didn't waste $20 on this. I don't know if you're gonna like it. And I got it there and I set it up for them, and they played with it for probably 2 hours straight, jumping on it, taking turn, seeing who could get higher, trying to hit stuff in the trees and all that.
Awesome.
There are cool stuff out there to get kids outside to play and all that. You just have to go and look. Don't get them these video games and stuff. Get them stuff where they could play with. I remember getting. They still sell slipping. You guys remember slipping slides?
You're psychic, because I was just going to bring that up.
Oh, those were like the coolest thing. And I remember when, I don't know if they first came out or just became popular in the 80s, and we couldn't afford one, so we took. Me and my neighbor, a good buddy of mine that I'm real close friends with now. Well, his 2 kids, when they lived next door to me, they're a little bit younger than me, but we grabbed our parents' trash bags and we, tore open about 20 of them to make our own slip and slide, because no one would buy us one. And we ran the hose on it because there was a little hill on the side of our house. So we set all these bags up. And oh my gosh, our parents were so mad when they seen all these trash bags ripped up, and they finally went out and bought us a slip and slide because it was cheaper than ripping up the trash bags.
That's awesome.
That's a good story.
Yeah. But you had to do stuff like that. You had to use your imagination, and I was still happy to see that they still sell the slip and slides, because those were really cool.
Oh, they were, yeah. And they're even more advanced now. They even have ones that have like little waterfalls and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I always liked the one that had the little pool at the end. So right when you hit the pool, you splash in that pool. Yeah, those are really cool, man. If you could really pick up air, you'd fly right past it and get, that nice grass and dirt burn on you.
All over your face.
Yeah, all over your face. You'd scratch up, start tumbling and everything.
Yeah. Mike, the thing.
Yeah.
It was called Creepo People.
Creeple People.
Yeah, it's like CREEPLE, and it's PEEPLE. So I guess they pronounce it Creepo People.
Boy, that was a cool set. I had that, and I just loved it.
Oh, I'm looking at those right now. I don't think I've ever seen those. That looks really kind of psychedelic.
Yeah. I still have some of the pieces that I made, but I don't have the kit. You could burn yourself on that, and on the creepy crawlers, you could burn so easily. They were hotter than hell, those little ovens you put the stuff in, and there weren't any safety measures on it. They made one later that was more safe, out of plastic, and wasn't as hot, with a different creepy crawly juice or whatever. But those, man, they were hot. I mean, you could bake a roll on those, man.
I don't think Eddie, what was the one that you were showing pictures of not too long ago? Was that
No, that was the Thing Maker.
The
Thing Maker, yeah.
The Thing Maker from 1968 or 60. I mean, that's and I have the creepy crawlers too. I don't know what condition mine's in. I haven't seen that in ages. The Thing Maker, the difference is, I guess it was the same thing. It just advertised and have a different cover, I guess.
Well, didn't the Thing Maker have, as I recall, now I always wanted one. I never got it because you didn't get everything as a kid. You were lucky to get whatever you got. But as I recall, the Thing Maker, it had like little blocks of plastic, and when you put them in the warmth, they would expand into a preconceived shape, I think.
Yeah, it would basically. Well, it actually wasn't. It had the molds, and you stuck the plastic in, and you baked it.
Yeah, and then you could also heat it up again and squish them back down, I think.
That I don't think. No, the Thing Maker, what it did, it had little bottles that looked like Elmer's glue.
Okay, well, that was like creepy crawlers then. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The other thing that you might be, well, that's not what you were saying, but there was another thing called Shrinky Dinks.
Oh yeah, Shrinky Dinks.
Yeah.
Those things were really cool. I had quite a few of them.
They were really cool. Do you remember? Speaking about Shrinky Dinks, it brought something to my mind. I'm going to ask both you guys, because I don't know if it's here. There was a character called Winky Dink, and you would put a piece of plastic on the screen of your TV, and then you had a crayon, and then the cartoon would play, and then you'd have to help Winky Dink save himself or something. Like, for instance, there'd be two edges of cliffs, and you have to draw a line across, and then Winky Dink would walk across that line. Did you ever do that?
I have never heard of that or seen it. I'm looking it up online right now. It was like a little blonde haired kid. Looks like he had a star for hair.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. They even had, it looks like a comic book of it. But
they took it away after a while because kids that didn't have the plastic would just get their crayons and draw on the TV screen.
I was going to say that could be a lot of that could be a bad thing because I could see that's something I would have done. Yeah, we just start drawing on the screen with crayon.
Yeah.
Look, Mom and Dad, we got our own cartoon show on there.
Yeah. But I had one real winky dink, so you could erase it and you could wipe it off, and it was like almost like a dry erase marker, but not. It was more crayonish, but you could wipe it off afterwards. But yeah, every day you'd save him, or you'd make wheels on a car, or so that he could complete his little story.
That's really cool. Could you see, because back then you could do that on the TVs because they weighed, 3,000 pounds for a little 19-inch, but could you imagine doing them today on a flat screen that weighs a pound? That thing would fall right over and break.
Oh, yeah. But it was cool, Winky Dink. He was cool. And he had a little song, Winky Dink and you, Winky Dink and me. It was cool.
Actually, funny, there is one on eBay with the Winky Dink. I remember him vaguely. And it's not going for a lot. It's only $44 for the
Really?
Yeah, it's still steel. If you were, I'll send you the link to it.
Okay.
It's not that expensive. I'm surprised, and it looks like it's complete here.
And it was very rare because, I don't know if it was just a California phenomena or that's why I asked you guys, because I was wondering if it was in New York or if it was in Ohio. I didn't know, but I knew it was big out here.
I'd never seen it. I'm kind of looking at it online. I guess it was a CBS children's television show that aired from 53 to 57. And it ran in looks like syndication, 65 episodes from 69 to 73.
Yeah, that's when I saw it.
Yeah, a new kit was made in the 90s. But yeah, I don't ever remember hearing anything about that or seeing it. Now, I might have when I was younger, but it wasn't something I ever had or interacted with. That's for sure.
I was just curious because when you're talking about Shrinky Dink, then I thought about Winky Dink, and then I thought, well, did you guys know about Winky Dink? So that's why I brought it up.
The Shrinky Dinks. I'm surprised they still make those. I'm looking at those online too, and I remember doing like the Christmas ones all the time. But
oh yeah,
Shrinky Dinks were really cool. You know what was cool? Kind of like around those two is remember you used to get the a lot of like the 80s cartoons had them, and sometimes the arcade games, but it was like a almost like a cardboard kind of just a piece of cardboard that was glossy and it had a scenery on it, and you would put these little like plastic character
color forms.
Yes, that's it. That's what I'm looking for. Color forms. Yeah, dude, I had a ton of those. Remember the G.I. Joe, Masters of the Universe.
They're awesome.
E.T., Pac-Man. Those great, man. And you couldn't really do much with them because you had one scenery and you could just move the characters around. But for that time in the 80s, they were really cool.
Joe, you must have 100 of those, I'll bet, in your collection.
I only have, if I ever find them at shows or anything, I grab them, and I probably got about 6 or 7 of them.
Yeah, they're cool. Eddie, do you have a bunch of those?
I have the color forms. I actually bought maybe 2 or 3. My favorite was the Mickey Mouse Magic one.
Oh, that's cool.
I do have that still. The Mickey Mouse, what it is, it has like this red knob in the middle, like a TV knob. Not a TV knob, just a knob that has a screen. And you would put, say, a hat, and when you lifted up this little part of the the cardboard, you stick the hat in, and then when you pass it to the screen, a rabbit would appear.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? It's what it was.
What's that called again?
It's called the Mickey Mouse Magic Set. Color Forms, Mickey Mouse Magic.
I got to get one of those.
The way it works is very simple. Like the 3D glasses that have the green and red thing.
Yeah.
Each of the stickers has like a thing that can only be seen under the red screen, not on when you look at it. I mean, when you look at it, you can see that it's there, but it doesn't. But then what you do is when you have like a round circle in the center of the kit, right?
Yeah.
And you have a big yellow button, and what you do is on the one side of the circle, there's like an open window that has a red filter. On the left side, you open up the cardboard and stick on that spinning wheel, the different color forms for Mickey Mouse, and then when you turn it, you have the let's say you put the hat, a rabbit would appear. So I actually really like that, and I actually had it as a kid. I lost it in the fire, but I was able to get it back in the 80s again.
That's like the coolest color forms I've ever heard of.
Yeah, really. I've never seen that one. That sounds really cool. Is it the one where
Man.
they were on stage?
I think it shows Mickey Mouse like on a stage, but it's Google it. It's called the Mickey Mouse, the Color Forms Mickey Mouse Magic Set.
Okay.
But I do have that. It's about, I would say the box is 18 inches tall by about 12, 13 inches wide.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. So he's on stage, or he's standing there next to Pluto with a hat, and yeah, like you said, there's the red and the blue cellophane that kind of goes in like a little wheel.
That's so cool.
That is really cool. Yeah. Well, it looks like it's 3D because you have a lot of that. That is really cool, man.
I had that. I really liked it as a kid. That was actually the only color form set that I really, remember. I had a few more, but they were like not Scooby Doo. I forgot what they were. But I did have a couple because the color forms are big. But the Trinky Dinks I liked better because you can make like the keychains and stuff. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was also those things. I forgot what they were called, but there were stickers that you would wet the sticker and then it slide off the thing and you could put it on glass. And
they were decals, kind of.
Yeah, the decal, but that type of decal, you had to wet it, like soak it in water, and it would slip right off, and you would put it in windows, cars.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so those were pretty popular in the 70s. I don't, I really, other than that, I didn't really buy too many color forms.
They do have one online. It looks like still in the box, unopened for $360.
Are you kidding me?
Jeez.
There's one that's incomplete for $20, but those look like the only two that I'm finding on eBay. So yeah, it looks like it's kind of rare. Now there was another one. Looks like it was called Magic Transfers from 1978. Do you remember that one, Eddie?
Magic Transfer sounds familiar. What was that about? If you look at the picture,
I don't know. I'm looking at. There's two of them, and they're only it looks like both of them are unopened, so I'm not able to see. But it was from Color Forms.
What you guys?
I'm not seeing too much about it. Actually, it looks like it was just your typical. Okay, so here's what it was. So it had like the same cardboard, glossy cardboard like a Color Form, but you would put the sticker on it, and then you would put a piece of paper over it and use a popsicle stick to rub it on, so it would transfer from the paper onto the board.
Okay, I remember those.
So
I remember it vaguely, yeah.
And they go for pretty cheap. There's one from 78 that's unopened for $20. So yeah, those look pretty good. Sometimes I vaguely remember those, but Color Forms more. That was the big thing.
See, Joe, back when you were talking about one thing that became very, very popular, and they told you would win a bike, which I don't know if anybody ever did win it, but there was a sticker book. I forgot the name of the stickers. I don't know if they were not wacky packies. They were some other thing, and the stickers were the size of a 50-cent piece. They were round. They're like what they later on they became Pogs.
Yeah.
They look like that. You were supposed to stick them in this book that they gave you. It was it looked like an old cheap coloring book, and it had like say 40 pages. And you had to fill them, and you would buy them in the store, and they have like a little gift, but you would buy. And then there was one section there of Universal Monsters. And to fill up the section where you would get the Dracula and the Frankenstein, that took me forever.
Oh.
I finally got it filled. And there was a saying that when you fill the book, I forgot the name of the book now. I have to actually look it up. But that was something big in the early 70s. And
wow.
I don't know if anybody ever got the bike, but I know I did fill it at the end, but it cost a lot because it was 25 cents like for a pack, and it only bought like 3 stickers. And I think the book could fit like 200, 300 stickers,
Jeez.
Now, Eddie, do you ever remember anyone winning the bike remember like those on those Boys Life ads or the ads from the back of comics where if you sell whatever they were offering for you to sell, like the highest prize was a bike. Did anybody ever win that bike?
what you're talking about is in the back of comic books. There were two. There were Olympic Sales Club, and it was selling basically, cards like Christmas cards and stuff like that. And the other one was called Atlantic Sales or Leadership Sales Club. I think the other one was Leadership Sales Card. Offer you all location cards, like for birthdays, for everything. And what they did is they sent you a book that had inside the book samples of all the cards people could order. And if you sold so many boxes, you would get so much. So what I did in my building is I got Olympic Sales Club because I wanted an air hockey game. And I also wanted the telescope. And I actually went on to win the air hockey game.
Wow.
And I sold, I think it was, if I remember at the time, I know it was like 22 boxes of cards.
Holy crap.
The building. And yeah, I did get it. It was a decent sized air hockey game, believe it or not. It was like 3 feet long. It wasn't like a small air hockey game. And I remember going to the post office to get it. So I was excited. The bike, I think you had to sell like 100 and some boxes to get.
Jeez.
I don't think anybody ever, because what was the ad there where you had to sell like grits or something there? And there's another one like a newspaper.
No. Grit was a newspaper. And
that's what it was. The Grit newspaper. Yeah.
I actually never saw Grit as a kid. I always saw the ads, but when I got married, I had a subscription to Grit. It was an awesome newspaper. I don't even know if they still, but it was more like, what it looked like? It was just like the National Enquirer and the Weekly. It was kind of like that, but it was more like USA Today. It was a decent paper.
I'm going to tell you what, here's a challenge out there to anybody listening. If you were a kid and you sold the Grit newspaper and you won the bicycle, which I believe was the top prize, let us know on the forum. Go to houseoftheunusual.com, join our free forum, and post it up there that you won the bicycle, and I want to hear the story behind it. And we may get you on the air with us because I don't know of anybody that ever won that.
No, I don't either.
I never.
You got to sell with like 1 million copies of Grits just to get the bike, and I always wanted the bike. Oh man, that would be great, but yeah, I never got anything like that, or never knew of anybody that sold that many to win the bike.
Me neither.
That's a challenge out there to anybody listening. If you won the bike, we definitely want to know. And Eddie, I have to know, do you still have that air hockey game?
Yeah, I do actually, Joe.
You really? Cool. I figure that. Yeah. That's awesome.
I have it.
I'm coming over and I am playing air hockey this week, and I'm on my way right after the podcast. I'm driving up. We're playing some air hockey.
The thing that was funny is that I thought it was so cool when it says flies on a cushion of air, but all it really was is it has a motor in the bottom, and you put 4 C-size battery, the large batteries.
Yeah.
And it goes bzzz, and then the hockey puck does kind of float. You can see it slides across the top. But
was it kind of like the same thing as what was that, like the like Tecmo Bowl, where it kind of just vibrated the board a little bit?
I was going to say the same thing with little football players.
No, this actually the puck comes up. It's like it was an air hockey that they were.
Oh, so it actually shoots air out of the.
Yeah, it does. It has a bunch of little holes. But then when the problem with it is that it's about 3 feet long by 2 feet wide. But when you freaking go hit it, the thing flies off the freaking thing. In reality, it was a good game, but I think it was more like I wanted it because I saw it on TV and all that.
Right.
And then I wanted the telescope. It showed, like it says, 200 power telescope. It was very famous in Johnson Smith too. And when I got it, to be honest with you, I'm like, I don't think I ever even tried to look at the moon with the darn thing. I don't even think I ever opened it. I got it because I wanted it.
Right.
If only you would have sold 1,000 more boxes of cards, you could have got the bike.
Yeah.
But I think finding Grit, Joe, to be honest with you, finding anybody that got a bike is like me finding the robot plants today.
Take a drink. Yeah, there we go.
Really?
How great would that be if someone was like, yes, I did win the bike. I was the only kid that I know that won the bike, and I do have the robot plans. That would be like a 2-for-1 there.
Yeah. No, Joe, I'm wondering when you said that, it's kind of weird that no one's ever mentioned that before you. Like, I've never heard anybody ask that question about if anybody got that bike from Grit.
That's true.
There were some great, I remember some great prizes in those, but I never, wanted to put in the effort when I was a kid to sell stuff because I was too busy, playing outside and all. I'm like, I'm not selling nothing, but I remember some really cool prizes in it.
Yeah, they were.
I was just too lazy to go around selling. The only thing I did was cut grass, for extra money to buy comic books.
Right.
I was going to say, but I can tell you, Olympic Sales Club, which is my experience, and I still have my original sales kit. I got to tell you, and I also order Sales Leadership Club, but for some reason, Olympic Sales Club had better prices picture on the page. But I got to tell you, I did win it. It's legit. I think I won something else. I don't remember what it was. Cool. But every year, it was a good thing. It was cool.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. I always wondered about that. If people actually won those prizes, and were they, actual legit prizes, and
right?
Not, something how you would get from
they were,
a mail order or something where you think you're going to get something cool, and it,
yeah,
and it comes in a balloon with a painted face on it or something.
Right.
Joe, I got to ask you this, Joe, because I'm just kind of curious. This came across, and I vaguely remember it, and maybe Joe or you might remember it, Mike. Al Babas, I think it is, from the website, actually mentioned that. Does anybody remember that when they were selling you a ghost, they would send you a bottle, or they send you something with a certificate like you owned it?
No, I don't remember that.
But you know which one I'm talking about, that Al Babas, I think, mentioned in the forum?
No, I have to go back and look. I'm sure I've read it, but I don't remember it. What was it? Was it a mail order item?
I don't know. He said that you would order something like a ghost or a pet ghost or something, and they would send you like a certificate of ownership or something. Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of like the pet rock, but it would be.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that sounds like a pet rock type.
I never heard of it. I remember vaguely hearing it, but I don't remember exactly. I know there is one thing that I was very fond of, and I even bought the magazine, a writer's magazine, a while back in the 90s, had a thing that it says a ghost. Like if you wrote the best ghost stories, you would win a $500 prize. And I thought the ad was so cool that I did buy the magazine, but I don't remember what he's talking about. But it was kind of
you know what it was is a couple guys were sitting around drinking those little travel bottles of whiskey, and they said, "We got all these empty bottles. What are we gonna do?" I know,
right.
We'll as captured ghosts. So you got an empty bottle of whiskey with a certificate that said, "Here's a ghost in here."
Yeah, they probably.
Mason Plumlee, the NBA player, one time called me up and says, "Hey Eddie, I'm over here. Somebody's selling ghosts in bottles. What do you think of that idea?" And I'm like, "Oh, ghost."
They do call that the whiskey and all that spirit. So maybe
yes,
a little bottle of booze or something. But hey guys, we're down to under 3 minutes here. The time has definitely flown for this. So I want to thank you both for joining us. And we're going to do a little house cleaning here before we finish up. So we want everybody out there to find us on your favorite platform. Subscribe to us. Give us a great review if you're enjoying what we're doing, because that definitely helps us to move up on the different apps and everything, and it gets us out a lot more. And we're in several countries. We've got tens of thousands of people that join us. More and more every week. So we're definitely getting up there, and I tell you what, we're a long way from where we thought we would be when we started our first podcast. So we're at 100 now with several thousand listeners in several different countries. And I want to say a huge thank you to everybody out there that joins us and listens to us. Find us on YouTube, just searching House of the Unusual. We're on Etsy, House of the Unusual, eBay, all that good stuff. But our flagship site is houseoftheunusual.com. We have a free forum there. Join up there, and if you won that bike for selling a bunch of junk, let us know, because we want to know. But that's all I got. What do you guys got to say for the last minute and a half here?
I would like to interject just to say thank you to all the listeners, and to you, Joe, and to Eddie, for supporting me in my winning of the runner-up for best article for Scary Monsters from the Rondos. It was a tough competition because Catherine Lee Scott from Dark Shadows was actually the one who won, and she has a big fan base. So thank you to all of you for making it possible for me to be the runner-up. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, and thank you for always joining us. And Eddie, what do you got for us? Final 30 seconds.
Congratulations, Mike, on that. I knew you were going to win. I worked on that to make sure.
I know you did.
But I wanted to say thank you to all, and I wanted all you guys to know that Joe is doing a wonderful job with Crypto Classics, and pretty soon he's gonna have some surprises in store for you guys.
Yeah, we're definitely going to hope to start getting Crypto Classics back on here with some more movie reviews and all that. We're going to flesh everything out and get it to you because we don't want to just throw it out there to where it's not complete. I want to have a nice format to present to everyone out there. So once again, everyone out there, thank you for joining us. You could find this weekly, comes out every Thursday morning on whatever podcast platform you listen to us. And that's all we got for this week. So good night, everyone.
Good night.
God bless, man. Bye.